Very good morning, everyone. Hope you all must be doing great. So today we would be starting with the TDS and TCS practical questions that are in your study material. You understand these study material questions are very important, especially from your examination point of view. You find similar questions in your examinations. So today I'll be discussing these questions with you, and not only discussing, I would also tell you how you should present your answer, how you should describe the provisions also in your examinations. So if you come to page number 7.129 of your study material, you will find these questions. I'll not be only discussing these questions, I'll be also discussing the illustrations. Let's see if this video would go a bit long, then I'll break this video into two parts so that today we will be discussing the questions and in the next part we would be discussing the illustrations. Correct. So let's start with these questions. I believe all of you must be having the book. In case someone doesn't have the study material, then they can download it from the institute website. That is easily available. Okay. So we know the first question says, Ashwin doing manufacture and wholesale trade furnishes you the following information. Okay, some information has been furnished to us. Total turnover of the financial year 22-23 and 23-24 turnover is mentioned to us. And they are asking, examine whether TDS provisions are attracted for the below said expenses incurred during the financial year 23-24. Okay. First understand. We have to examine whether in this year, in 23-24, whether TDS provisions would be attracted or not. First of all, tell me, the person is an individual over here, right, Ashwin? So whether an individual or HUF can deduct TDS, it depends upon their turnover. See, if their last year turnover, I'm repeating, if their last year turnover is more than 1 crore rupees in case they are doing business, in case they are into profession, then 50 lakh rupees, right? So it depends whether you can deduct TDS or not. It is for individual ratio. Otherwise, if this would have been company, partnership firm, etc., they can easily deduct TDS. No issues. There is no such limit of turnover. But only for individual nature, we have to see the last year turnover, right? So here they are asking whether in this year we can deduct TDS, Ashwin can deduct TDS or not. So it depends upon the turnover of the last year. What would be the last year here? Previous year 22-23. Correct? Previous year 22-23 would be last year. Now, that is the reason they have given us this information also related to the turn. So if we have to deduct TDS here, we have to see the turnover of previous year 22-23, which is more than 1 crore rupees. Since he is into business, it is more than 1 crore rupees. So yes, we can say in this year, he can deduct TDS. Okay, you might get confused. Sir, the turnover of 23-24 is less than 1 crore rupees. Still, he is deducting TDS. Yes, in a year, whether we should deduct TDS or not, it depends upon the last year turnover, right? So current year turnover doesn't make any difference, right? So we have, this information is not so relevant, but the last year turnover information, that amount is relevant for us. Got it? Let's proceed now. Okay, so we have to tell whether TDS provisions would be attracted here or not. First, it says interest paid to UCO Bank on 15/8/2023 41. First of all, tell me who is the payer and who is the receiver. So this is interest paid to UCO Bank. It means that UCO Bank is the receiver. Okay, and Ashwin is the payer because he is paying interest. Very nice. So first understand that Ashwin is a payer and he is paying interest to UCO Bank. Now, please revise your concept related to interest. In TDS chapter, we have two sections which deals with interest. One is, my motive is not to just solve the question, but also to revise the concepts also, right? Okay. So we have section 193. We have another section 194A. See, 193 deals with interest on securities. So whenever you pay interest on securities, so when you pay interest on debentures or interest on bonds, so generally who issues debentures? Company. So if company is paying interest on debentures, then they are liable to deduct TDS under section 193. So as of now, in this here, it is not or not securities. So this section will not apply over here. Correct. 194A is related to interest other than securities. Getting it? So this is interest, any interest other than securities, other than securities. So we have section 194A. Let's say if we have taken a loan from some, and if we are paying interest, we have not issued any securities, we have just taken a loan and we are paying interest to them, then we can deduct TDS under section 194A. Right? What is the rate under both the section? Both the sections have similar rate, 10% TDS. Okay. Now there is a very important point written in section 194A that in some cases, this particular section will not apply. And one of the important cases is that if the receiver is any bank, if the receiver is any bank, please remember, the payer is bank or the receiver is bank. If the receiver is, right, the payee, we say Ashwin, we can call it payer, right? And UCO Bank is the payee. In other words, in simple words, I can also say receiver. Got it? So if the receiver is a bank, or it could be financial institution, it could be LIC or insurance company. In that case, this section will not apply. So we cannot deduct TDS. So if we are paying it to the bank, we cannot apply TDS. So here, interest is paid to UCO Bank on this date, that is during this year. Date not that important as of now. During this year, we have paid interest to UCO Bank. So how much TDS would be deducted? The answer is no. No, right? So you can mention that although there is a section 194, don't mention both these sections. No, this is just for your for your knowledge. I was explaining. You just mention this particular section, and even if you don't remember the section number, you can just mention as per the TDS provisions. When interest is paid to bank, financial institutions, LIC or insurance company, then TDS is not supposed to be deducted. So in this case, as the receiver is UCO Bank, so will not be deducting the TDS. I'll show you the presentation also. Don't worry about it. Got it? So in this case, we are not going to deduct TDS. I believe that it's okay with everyone. Okay, nice. Second, contract payment. Oh, as soon as this word comes, contract, so our mind should go to 194C. C for you can learn like this. C for contract, C for 194C, right? Okay. So whenever a contract payment is here, the contract payment is made to Raj. Two contracts of 12,000 each on this amount, 24,000. So there were two contracts of 12,000 each and the total amount is 24. So whether we can deduct TDS under section 194C. So first of all, I would like to revise the concept of 194C. See, understand section 194C, C for contract, right? So if you are making any payment to the contractor, so 194C is attracted. It says that the rate, first of all, learn the rate of under section 194C. It is 1% also and it is 2% also. If the receiver to whom we are paying, right, to the contractor, if this contractor, if the receiver, the payee is an individual or HUF, then we will apply 1% rate. In other cases, if this receiver is other than individual or HUF, then we will apply 2% rate. Clear with the rates of 194C? Second, there is a threshold limit, you understand. In 194C, there is a threshold limit if it is a single contract. If it's a single contract, the limit is 30,000 rupees. And in case it is a multiple contracts during this year, then we have to aggregate the amount of these contracts. And in case they exceed 1 lakh rupees, then TDS will apply, right? So either of them can, if satisfied, then TDS will be applied. If it is a single contract, one contract, which is more than 30,000 rupees, TDS will apply. If there are multiple contracts and if the aggregate exceeds 1 lakh rupees, then also TDS can apply. So tell me whether these conditions are getting satisfied over here or not. See, each contract is 12,000, 12,000 each. So not even a single contract is more than 30,000. Okay. So let's say there are multiple contracts now. There are two contracts. The aggregate is just 24,000, not exceeding 1 lakh rupees. So we are not going to deduct TDS also. So we will first, how we will present? First, we will discuss the provision that under 194C, whenever you are making a payment to the contractor, the threshold limit is 30,000 for a single contract. I'm so sorry. And for multiple contracts, it is 1 lakh rupees, right? And then first write the provisions in simple, easy English, right? In simple English, you can write the provisions in 3-4 lines. After that, link that provision with your answer, with your question. You can link that in this case, in this question, the single contract is not more than 30,000. Multiple contracts is also not exceeding 1 lakh. Therefore, we are not going to deduct any TDS. So here also TDS will not apply. Okay. Next is shop rent. Okay. Tell me the section which is related to shop rent. Don't worry, even if you don't remember the section number, although it is advisable that for TDS you should know the sections number, right? It is advisable that for TDS you should know the section number, but still, in case during examination if you forget the section number, it's okay. Write the provision at least, right? So as of now, I'm telling you the section number. For rent, we have one of the main section is 194I. There is another section 194IB also for rent. I'll tell you that later, right? As of now, 194I. That is TDS on rent. It says, first of all, tell me the threshold limit. The threshold limit is 2,40,000 rupees. So if you are paying rent and in a year it is more than 2,40,000 rupees, then TDS will be applicable. How much is the TDS rate? Generally, the rate is 10%. If you have taken anything on higher, then the rate is 10%. But in case of plant and machinery, the rate would be 2%, right? So this is 194I. If that rent, that aggregate of the rent of the entire year is more than 2,40,000 rupees, then TDS will be applicable 10%. Let's say if you have taken any property on rent or any furniture on rent, then 10%. Only in case of plant and machinery, it is 2%, right? So let's apply this in our question. Shop rent paid to a payee on this date. How much? 2,40,000. Now tell me whether TDS will be applicable or not. The answer is yes. Why? Because it is more than 2,40,000 rupees. Got it. How much would be the rate? 2% or 10%? So 2% is only for plant and machinery. In other cases, it is 10%. So on this amount, we are going to charge, we are going to deduct 10% TDS. So it would be 25,000. So here you can first mention the provisions in 2-3 lines and then link that with your question. Correct? Okay. Third is commission. Okay. So for commission, how many sections are there for commission? One is insurance commission. Other is lottery commission. And third is general commission and brokerage. Right. So we have some section for one insurance commission. We have 194D. Lottery commission, we have 194G. For other commission brokerage, we have 194H. 194H is something which is more common, is frequently asked by the examiner, but still they can ask 194D or G also. But yes, all these three sections related to commission. Here, the similarity is that in all these three sections, the rate of TDS is 5% and the threshold limit is 15,000. And if in a year, if you are paying more than 15,000 rupees, then TDS will be applicable. Please tell me if we are paying exactly 15,000, no TDS. More than 15,000, then TDS will apply. Okay. So here, you are paying commission to Ballu, how much? 7,000 rupees. Is it more than the threshold limit? The answer is no, sir. We understand the threshold limit is 15,000. So here we are paying just 7,000. So here also TDS will not apply. So only in this particular situation, TDS will apply. TDS is not getting applied in any of these three conditions, right? So now if we have already discussed question number 1. Now I would request you to pause the video right here, right? Write your answer, write your presentation, and then cross check with my solution, right? So let's start. Okay, guys, I believe that you have done this. Okay, see my presentation. Here I have mentioned what is the provision under Income Tax Act. So I have written it over here that an individual is liable to deduct TDS if their turnover of the preceding financial year, preceding previous year exceeds 1 crore rupees. You can also write in case of profession. I have not written in case of profession because here the question was related to business. Correct? Okay. So after writing the provision, I have linked it with my question. So I'm now saying here the turnover of Ashwin in the preceding financial year, that is previous year 22-23, is more than 1 crore. Therefore, this guy is liable to deduct TTS. No issue. Correct? Okay. So now the main answer. First one was when he is paying interest to UCO Bank. So you understand TDS will not apply. So how you can write as per the TDS provisions, if the interest is paid to bank. See, here I have mentioned this section number in a different color, in red color. Why? Because this is optional. If you remember the section number, please go and quote it. But in case you forget the section number in examination, then please do not quote any wrong section number, right? You can skip that section number. So this is your optional. So as per the TDS provision, if the interest is paid to bank, financial institution, LIC, insurance company, etc., then no TDS should be deducted. So first I have written the provision. You are getting it, how I am presenting the answer. So first I am writing the provision of the law, and then we are linking this with our answer. So since interest is paid to UCO Bank, therefore Ashwin is not required to deduct TDS. That's it. Correct? Okay. The second one, contract payment to Raj. So first, similarly now, what we'll do, we'll write the provision first and then link that provision with our answer. As per the TDS provisions, again, I have written 194C, but 194C is quite an important section. I would recommend you please learn this section number 194C. As per the TDS provision, if the amount of single contract that I have mentioned, amount of single contract, if it is exceeding 30,000 rupees, or in case it is a multiple contract, it is exceeding 1 lakh rupees. So you are supposed to deduct TTS, right? And now the main answer. In the given case, since the amount of a single contract does not exceed 30,000 rupees, and also there are multiple contracts, there are 2 contracts, aggregate of that does not exceed 1 lakh rupees. That is the reason we are not deducting TTS. Got it? Simple. Okay. Third one, shop rent. Okay, 194R. As per the TDS provision, again, this is optional. As per the TDS provision, the threshold limit for 194I is how much? 2,40,000 rupees. And here the amount is exceeding 240, it is 2,50,000. So therefore, we will apply TDS rate at a rate of 10%. And the amount also calculate how much would be the amount of TDS now. So it would be 2,50,000 was the amount into 10%. That will 25,000 of TDS we would be deducting, right? Not we, Ashwin would be deducted. Okay. Fourth, it is regarding the commission pay. So first, in these 2 lines I have mentioned the provision. As per the TDS provision, the threshold limit is 15,000 for commission. The section number is 194. In the given question, the amount is just 7,000. Therefore, TDS shall not apply. Right? Please bear with my handwriting. It's not so good, but still, I think bit readable. Okay, now come to question number 2. See, compute the amount of tax deduction at source. What the question is asking, to compute the amount. See, if TDS is applicable, then you have to also compute the amount of it. Okay, compute the amount of TDS on the following payments made by S Limited. Who is making the payment? Who would be the tax deductor? S Limited. So S Limited. Should we see the turnover of S Limited of the preceding financial year? The answer is no, not required, because this, in this case, this is a company. Company can anyways deduct TDS. Okay. So compute the amount of TDS payment made by S Limited during the financial year 23-24 as per the provision of the Income Tax Act. Okay. So let's do one by one. This date, how much payment is made? Payment of 2 lakh rupees to Mr. R, a transporter who owns 8 goods carriage. Okay, now understand. See, we have section 194C. 194C is related to payment to contractor. And even here, if we are giving a contract for transportation of goods, then also we can deduct TDS under section 194C. So if we are making a payment to a transporter, then also 194C would be applicable. And we have just discussed what is the rate in under section 194C. See, if the receiver is an individual or HUF, then you understand the rate is 1%. In other cases, the rate is 2%, right? And what is the threshold limit? 30,000 for a single contract, for multiple contracts, 1 lakh rupees. Correct. But please remember, for this transportation, the assessee who are engaged in transportation of goods, they have quite a good benefits in income tax. One benefit we see that it is in section 48(3). Generally, we cannot make a payment of more than 10,000 rupees in cash. But for to these goods transporter, we can make it to 35,000 also, right? So one benefit is there. Second benefit is in this section under section 194C. If these transporters furnishes their PAN along with the declaration that they do not own more than 10 goods vehicle, if they give us a declaration, if they give a declaration to S Limited that they do not own more than 10 goods vehicle at any time during the previous year, right? So first they have to give a declaration and also their PAN number. If they submit both of them, then we are not going to deduct TDS. Correct? So this is a special provision under section 194C specifically for transporter of goods. Okay. So here we are making a payment of 2 lakh, much more than the threshold limit, correct? Because in 194C we have for single contract it is 30,000, for multiple it is 1 lakh, even it is much more than that. Okay. But we are making a payment to R. R is an individual. So if TDS would have been there, the TDS rate would have been 1%, correct? Because we are making a payment to individual. Payment of 2 lakh to R, a transporter who owns 8 goods carriage throughout the previous year. Here they specifically mentioned that this person is not having more than 10 goods vehicles during the entire previous year at any time during the previous year, and furnishes a declaration to this effect along with his PAN number. So in this case, that exceptions, this person would be covered under exception. He has given us a declaration, boss, I do not own more than 10 goods vehicle on any day during the previous year, right? Even if on any day, let's say at the beginning of the year he has 9 vehicles, at the end of the year he has 8 or 9 vehicles, but somewhere in between it goes more than 10, let's say 11 or 12, then this relaxation will not be provided. Then we will be deducting TDS, right? So now we will not be deducting TDS. Why? Because this person is furnishing a declaration that I do not have more than 10 goods vehicle. He has just 8. And also it is important that he should also furnish his PAN number, right? So both these conditions are satisfied. So we are not going to deduct TDS, right? So how you will present your answer? First, write the provision that if we are giving a contract to a transporter, then section 194C is applicable. However, there is an exception. If we are making a payment to a transporter and he furnishes a declaration along with the PAN number, then TDS will not be applicable. Got it? Correct? Tell me, what if examiner would have asked you that he has not furnished his PAN number? Then sir, we will be deducting TDS. How much? What should be the rate of TDS? Sir, 1%, because now TDS will be applicable. Please remember, there is a general clause, there is a general provision under TDS chapter that if someone does not furnish their PAN, then we have to deduct TDS at a higher rate. Got it? So there is a provision that if we are supposed to deduct TDS and if the deductee does not furnish their PAN, then we will be deducting TDS at a higher rate, and such higher rate could be the applicable rate of that particular section, or 20%, whichever is higher. So in that case, the applicable rate is 1% or 20%, whichever is higher. So examiner can also give you such type of question that this person does not, he furnishes a declaration that he does not have more than 10 goods vehicle, but he does not furnish his PAN. So please, you know that we have to deduct TDS, but some students will say that we will deduct TDS at a rate of 1% or 2% as the case may be. But please, you have to deduct TDS if this person is not furnishing their PAN. Deduct TDS at a higher rate, 20%. Got it? Okay. Second, Payment of fees for technical services of 25,000 and royalty of 20,000 to Mr. Sham, who is having a pen. Okay. Very good. Now we have a very important section. The section number is 194J. Quite an important section. One of the examiner's favorite section, 194J. Actually, 194J deducts TDS on certain types of payment, and those are, if you are making payment for technical services, if you are making a payment for technical services, if you are making a payment for professional services, or for royalty, or for non-competing fees. And the last one is if a company is making a payment to their director, not in the capacity of employee, but in other capacity, in director capacity. So why I'm saying that, if they are making a payment to the director in the capacity of employee, if they are paying salary, then we have a separate section for salary, 192, correct? So it is other than employee if they are making. So on these 5 things, whenever we make a payment, there is a section 194J. Okay. The important point here is the threshold limit is 30,000, 30. The threshold limit is 30,000. And the important point is that this 30,000 you have to see for each type of payment specifically. For technical services, apply 30,000 separately, individually. For professional services, 30,000 individually. You cannot club technical services and professional services together. No. So 194J, it says that please you have to see this limit separately for technical services, separately for professional services, separately for royalty, separately for non-competing fees. Why I have written director in some different color? Because for director, if you are making a company can make a payment to a director, correct? Because company has board of directors. So if company is making a payment to directors, there is no such limit of 30,000. There is, in fact, there is no such limit, right? Even if you are making a payment of 1,000 rupees to director, go and deduct TDS under section 194J. So this is important that on certain types of payment, you can deduct TDS under this section. For each particular, we have 30,000 limit. We have to see individually. Let's say if we are making a 2 payments for technical services, then we can club it together. For technical services, we can club, but we cannot club technical and professional. We cannot club technical and royalty. Got it? If we are making a payment to Mr. X twice of royalty, then we can club because both are royalty. But if we are making a payment for technical services separate and for royalty, we have to keep them separate. Correct? So 30,000 is an individual limit for all types of payments, right? Okay. Now the important thing is, what is the rate under section 194J? See, generally the rate is 10%. Generally the rate is 10%. But in some cases it becomes 2%. Where if you are making a payment for technical services, the rate is 2%. And on certain royalty, the rate is 2%. On certain royalty, it is 2%. Which type of royalty? If you are making a payment for cinematographic films, then in that case, for such royalty, it is just 2%. For other kinds of royalty, it is 10%. Right? So please remember, for technical services, it is 2%. Second is for royalty of only related to cinematographic films, it is 2%. And for others, it is 10%. One more thing is there. If you are making a payment for call center services, it is also 2%. But call center services are not that so important. But yes, it is there. Okay. So you got it. 194J for there are 5 types of payment, and we have to apply that threshold limit individually for each. Technical services 30,000 separately, for royalty 30,000 separately, and for director fees there is no such threshold limit. Okay. So now let's answer this question. Now we are making a payment for technical services 194J for 25,000 and royalty again 194J. Can we club it together? The answer is no. Why? Although we are making a payment to one person, to Mr. Sham. So can we club it together? No. Please keep them separate. So here the limit is 30,000 and you are making a payment which is less than the limit. Here also you are making a payment which is less than the threshold limit of 30,000. So you are not going to deduct TDS. So TDS would not apply over here as well. Okay. Next, third. Payment of 25,000 rupees to Messrs X Limited for repair of building. See, repair of building will again come under contract, repairing contract. So 194C would be applicable, and we understand for single contract the limit is 30, for multiple it is 1 lakh. So here we are making a payment which is less than the threshold limit. No TDS will apply over here as well. Next, payment made of 2 lakh made to Mr. A for purchase of diaries, where according to the specification of S Limited, however, no material was supplied for such diaries to Mr. A by S Limited or its associates. Okay, very nice. Let me explain you section 194C. About 194C, now we know that the rate is 1% or 2%. It depends on the receiver. If that person is an individual rate fee of 1%, otherwise 2%. We know the threshold limit is 30,000 for single, and for multiple it is 1 lakh. Okay. Please understand. See, 194C is contract for any work done. So there is an important definition of work under section 194C. So if you are getting a work done, by someone, you are hiring someone to get the work done, then not hiring in that scenario that he's not your employee, but you are giving a contract to someone to get a work done, then you can deduct TDS under section 194C. But if you are making a payment which is not considered to be a work, then you cannot deduct TDS. I'll give you an example. So here, let's say this company, the company here in our question is S Limited, right? S Limited is making a payment, and to whom they are making a payment? To Mr. A. Let's say Mr. A is a job worker. He's a job worker. And let's say, for example, S Limited is giving them a contract that they need some diaries for their office purpose. They need some diaries, correct? Let's say, for example, S Limited is supplying the material. S Limited is supplying the raw material for diaries. Let's say they are supplying papers or other material, or they are supplying plain diaries and they would like to get a logo printed on their diary. Correct? So this is a job work. The answer is yes. See, if S Limited is supplying a material to Mr. A and they are saying to them, go and print our logo on each of our diary. It's a plain diary. Go and print our logo. So this is a job work. It is covered under the section under the definition of work, and 194C would be applicable. Getting it? So we have to deduct TDS. Whatever he will charge, we are going to deduct TDS because he is an individual. So 1% TDS will apply. Or I can say S Limited is supplying the material, or S Limited associates. It could be their sister concern, their associate is supplying the material. One and the same thing. It will be assumed that S Limited is supplying the material. So whether S Limited is supplying or their associate is supplying the raw material, TDS will apply under section 194C. This will come under the definition of work. But what if S Limited is asking Mr. A that you have to prepare a diary which should have our logo. It should be, the cover should be dark brown. This should be the binding. It should be a hardcore binding. It should be a plastic binding, whatever. They are giving us specifications. They are giving specifications that these are the specifications of a diary. It should be rectangle. It should be square, whatever it is. So they are giving all the specifications to Mr. A. Mr. A will say, okay, I'll do, but where is the raw material? S Limited will say, no, we don't have any raw material. Please arrange it yourself. Mr. A, you go and arrange it yourself. You can purchase it from someone else. Print whatever it is, whatever the specifications we are giving it to you, work accordingly, and tell me how much you would charge. Is it is this particular transaction will come under the definition of work? The answer is no. Why? Because as of now, although they are giving a specification that this is the type of diary we need, it should be a rectangle, it should be a square, it should be a circle, whatever. Not circle exactly, but cell. Okay. But this is not a job work. This is not a work done. This is actually a sale and purchase transaction. S Limited is purchasing the diary and Mr. A is selling the diary. So in this case, 194C cannot apply. Why? Because now the raw material, Mr. A is arranging it of its own. They are arranging it from someone else. S Limited is not supplying. So if you will supply your raw material and you would like to get a work done on such raw material, that will come under the definition of work. And hence 194C can apply. But if you will not supply the raw material, neither you are supplying nor your associates are supplying, sorry, it is a sale and purchase transaction. No TDS will apply. Okay. Now with this knowledge, let's read this question. Got it? Very nice. Payment of rupees 2 lakh made to Mr. A. So we are making a payment of 2 lakh to Mr. A. Why we are making it? Let's see. For purchase of diaries made according to the specification of S Limited. We have given him the specification. It should be rectangle, it should be brown in color, it should be so and so binding and all. However, no material was supplied. No material was supplied by S Limited, neither by S Limited nor by their associate. It means that this person has arranged the material himself, right? So it will become a purchase and sale transaction. TDS will not apply. Got it? Okay. Here also. Next one. Payment of 2,30,000 made to Mr. Bharat for compulsory acquisition of his house as per the law of the state government. So we understand it's an easy section. We have a section for compulsory acquisition of immovable property. 194 LA. 194 LA says that the TDS rate would be 10% if the threshold amount exceeds 2,50,000 rupees. And if we are compulsory acquiring an immovable property. So here the amount is 230. It is not exceeding the threshold limit of 2.5 lakh. So no TDS will be applicable here as well. So first you have to give the provision and then you have to write your answer. Okay. Payment of commission of 14,000 to Mr. Bhai. We just did it. That this is 194H. The threshold limit is 15,015. And here the limit, this 14,000 is less than that threshold limit. So no TDS will apply here as well. Got it? So this is question number 2. I would again request you to pause the video right here. Then you can cross check your answer with mine. So let's start. Okay, I think you have done this. See, answer 2. Always write the answer number at the top. As per the TDS provisions, if you remember the section number, put the section number. But now I believe that you are able to remember the section number 194C. 194C for contract, 194I for rent, 194J technical services, professional services, director fees, non-competing fees, royalty. Okay. Okay. So as per the TDS provisions, TDS is required to be deducted in case of contract or transportation of goods. For transportation also, we can deduct TDS under section 194C. But yes, there is an exception. What was the exception? If that transporter furnishes a declaration that I don't own more than 10 goods vehicle and also I am furnishing my PAN, so in that case, TDS will not apply. So however, I have written it over here. So these are the provisions. See, these are the provisions. And now link your answer with this provision. Are you understanding how you have to present this in your question paper, right? In your answer sheet, in fact. In the given case, the transporter has given such declaration along with the PAN. So in this case, transportation has given such declaration, sir, I don't own more than 10 goods vehicle. I'm also furnishing by PAN. So in this case, TDS provisions will not apply. Got it? I'll share this PDF also. Second, as per the TDS provision, the second was when we were making a payment for technical services and for royalty. So as per the TDS provision, the section is 194J. If you remember in the examination, please do and quote it. As per the TDS provision, TDS is required to be deducted if individual threshold limit of technical services. See, this is important. Individual threshold limit, right? For technical services, individually we have to see. For royalty, individually we have to see. For professional services, individually we have to see. Correct? So if the individual threshold limit of technical service or royalty exceeds 30,000 rupees. So I have not mentioned here non-competing fees, director fees, etc. because as of now, this question is just related to technical services and royalty. So we have given the information regarding that only. In the given case, 25,000 is paid for technical services and 20,000 is for royalty. And both the individual limit is not exceeding the threshold rupees 30,000. That is the reason we are not going to deduct TDS. Okay. For repair of building was easy. The limit is 30 and here the payment we are making is just 25. Therefore, it is less than the threshold limit. So we are not deducting TDS. So this was easy. Fourth, diaries. So in this case, first of all, you can mention that as per the TDS provision, work includes the job work which is performed on the material which is supplied by the customer, right? If the customer is supplying their material or their associates are supplying their material, and if we are performing any process on the material supplied by these customers, correct? Then it is included in the definition of work. But if we are arranging, the job worker is arranging the material themselves, they are purchasing it from someone else, then it will not be a work related contract. It will become a sale and purchase transaction. And on that transaction, we are not going to deduct TDS. Got it? Easy. So first I have mentioned the provision and then I have given the answer. Okay. This was easy. 194 LA compulsory acquisition. The limit is 2.5 lakh. The rate is 10%. But here our limit is not getting exceeded. So that is the reason TDS was not deducted. 194H was anyways easy. You understand the limit is, how much is the rate under section 194H? 5%, right? And the threshold limit is 15,000. But here the threshold limit is not getting exceeded. So that is the reason TDS provisions will not apply. Got it? Okay. Now let's come to the next question. Question number 3. Examine the applicability of TDS provisions and TDS amount in the following cases. So here again you have to examine whether TDS would be applicable or not, and if applicable you have to also compute the TDS amount. Got it? First, rent paid, 194I, rent paid for hire of machinery by B Limited to Raman, 2.6 lakh on this date. Okay. So who is making a payment to whom? B Limited is making a payment. B Limited is making a payment to Raman. How much? 2.6 lakh rupees For what? For rent of machine. So first of all, tell me the section 194I. Tell me the limit 2,40,000. The rate of TDS would be, sir, here it is machine. We have hired a machine. So the rate would be 2%. In other cases, this is 10%. So if this would have been, if we have taken building on rent, then 10%. What about furniture? 10%. It is only plant and machinery, that is 2%. For others, it is 10%. So here we can say, yes, on this amount, we are going to deduct TDS because it is more than the threshold limit of 2.4 lakh. The applicable rate would be 2%. So also apply 2,60,000 2%. Give the amount also. Easy. B point. Fees paid on 1/12/2023 to Dr. Sri Vatsan by Sundar HUF 35,000 for surgery performed on the member of the family. Okay. First of all, tell me who is making a payment to whom. So first of all, you have to understand that who is making a payment and to whom they are making the payment. And then you have to tell me for what type of expense they are making a payment. Sir, we are paying a fees to Dr. Sri Vatsan. Okay, who is making the payment? HUF. So Sundar HUF, that is HUF, is making a payment to a doctor. For what? For professional services, right? This doctor is a professional. We are paying for professional services. Now we know that for professional services, we have section 194J, where for professional services, we have to see the limit is 30,000 rupees. And here we are making a payment of 35,000. So we can deduct TDS under section 194J at a rate of 10% for professional services. No, why not? Because 194J, if you remember 194J, it is mentioned over here. This particular payment, if you would like to deduct TDS under this section, the payment should be for your business purpose. It should not be a professional payment. So here, the payment is made to Dr. Sri Vatsan for what? For the surgery performed on the member of the family. So in this case, 194J cannot apply. Even 194C, payment for contractor, this should be not a personal contract. It should be in the nature of your business or profession. That is for your business, correct? It should not be for personal nature. It should not be a personal nature contract. Correct? So 194J will not apply. Okay. Now we have a very, very important section, 194M. 194M applies on three things. One is if you are making a payment for any contract, to any contractor, if you are making a payment, if you are making a payment for professional services, or you are making a payment for commission or brokerage. So we know that we have a specific sections for contract. Which section do you have for contract? So we have 194C. Okay. For professional services, we have 194J. For commission and brokerage, we have 194H. Correct. 194M says that if TDS could not be deducted by individual or HUF, if TDS could not be deducted under section 194C, 194J or 194H. If we cannot deduct TDS under these sections, then still we can deduct TDS under section 194M. Got it? So here we are not able to deduct TDS on professional services under section 194J. So 194M can come into picture. Got it? However, what is the rate under section 194M? 194M is quite an important section. The rate is 5%. However, the threshold limit is very high, 50 lakh rupees. So 194M, you can deduct TDS under section 194M at a rate of 5%, provided the payment which is being made is more than 50 lakh rupees. So here, see, 194J will not be applicable. Why? Because it is for personal purpose. 194M also would not apply. Why? Because of this 50 lakh. We are just making a payment of 35,000 rupees. The threshold is not getting exceeded. So again, both the sections. You have to answer in this manner that you should give a reference to of both these sections. So first, write about 194J, then write about 194M, and then finally say that TDS will not be deducted. Correct? Why not under 194J, and also why not under section 190? Why not under 194J? It's for personal purpose. Why not under section 194M? Because it is less than the threshold limit. Got it? C point. C point. ABC and Company Limited. It's a company limited. Paid 19,000 to one of its director as sitting fees. Okay, we are paying to the director as sitting fees. Which section? 194J. Okay, 194J covers technical services, professional services, your royalty, non-competing fees, and director fees also. And in 194J, the limit is 30,000 for each individually, correct? Not for directors, not for directors. Even you are paying 100 rupees, 500 rupees, 1,000 rupees for directors, go and deduct TDS. So here that 30,000 limit will not apply because we are paying to the directors. So we are paying 19,000 rupees, 10% TDS will be applicable. Got it? Okay. So this was question number 3. I would request you again pause the video here. Please attempt this question and then cross check with my answer. Okay. See, first one, 194I. It was easy. We are making a payment of 2,60,000, which is more than the threshold limit. So we are going to deduct TDS. And this is for plant and machinery. That is the reason 2% rate will apply. See, question was asking, you have to tell us whether TDS would be deducted or not. And if yes, also tell us the amount of TDS. So we are mentioning that the TDS would be equal to 5,200, 260 into 2%. Got it? Easy. Second, we are making a payment for professional services, but actually it was for personal nature. So first of all, we will tell that under section 194J, TDS could be deducted on professional services, but it should be in the nature of your business. It should not be personal. That is the reason 194J will not apply, right? So we are not going to apply 194J. So we understand. Then second, we will tell about 194M. So, however, if section 194J does not apply, TDS can be deducted under section 194M. We have another section also for professional services, 194M. However, in 194M, the threshold limit is very high, that is 50 lakh rupees. Correct. So, that is the reason we are not going to deduct TDS under section 194M also in this case, because the limit is just, because the payment is just 35,000. It is not exceeding 50 lakh rupees. So, that is the reason we are not going to deduct TDS. Right. And the last one was easy. We are paying the payment to director and it does not have any threshold limit. So you can deduct TDS at a rate of 10% on 19,000. So here you are deducting TDS. So you have to also calculate the amount as well. So 19,000 into 10% is 19,000. Got it? So as of now, we are keeping it till here and now we'll continue in our second portion. Till then, bye-bye and take care.